Is this the world's worst coffee? We're going to find out now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Q&A. I'm Jay, your host, and this is the Onocoffee channel, and we do this live stream about coffee most Monday through Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you're just joining us for the very first time, welcome and glad to see you. So today, Kent, how are you? Craig, good to see you. We're going to be tasting this coffee that I really kind of mucked up. Every once in a while, I think every coffee roaster will do this at some point in that they will somehow mix green coffee with roasted coffee. Most of the time it's, you've had some kind of spill somewhere along the way and it gets mixed in. This time was really one of the worst situations I've ever done to myself ever. Basically, if you watch last Saturday's video, the main release video, and the link is down in the description below if you haven't seen it, I talk about this coffee that I made a muck of. Basically, I was roasting a coffee, and I had a batch in the roaster, and I had a batch of green coffee in the hopper above. And it's roasting. Everything's going great. It's awesome. Matt and I are just chatting about things, whatever topic it was. And so if you're familiar with a coffee roaster, there is a handle that opens. You push it up on this particular Gießen W6A. You push it up to open the door that allows the green coffee to fall from the hopper into the drum. Conversely, you do that at the beginning of your roast. So you open it up and the coffee falls into the roasting drum and it roasts the coffee and you heat it up and blah, 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 blah. When you're finally reaching the point that you want to be done, you pull up on the handle that covers the door and the roasted coffee falls out into the cooling tray and everything's hunky-dory, everything's beautiful. What you should never do is rest your hand on the handle that you're not going to operate, right? So if you're just going to be there talking, and let's say this is and you're just going to be there just resting your hand on something while you're blah, blah, blahing away, you want it to be on the door that releases the coffee into the cooling tray when there's coffee roasting inside the drum, and not on the handle that drops the green coffee into the drum. And here's the thing. As Matt and I were talking, I was conscious of the fact that, okay, we're talking and I'm watching the time. I'm watching the time, I'm watching the temperature, I'm checking the color. You're checking all kinds of things. You may be talking, but there's time, temperature, color, time, temperature, color, time, temperature, color, smell, how's it going, listening, good, it's all good, everything's fine, no problems, perfect. Rolling smooth. But my hand is on here because it just felt more comfortable. So I'm just holding on to it like this, right? So there's actually a handle right above the camera screen. And I'm holding on like this and I'm thinking to myself, as we're talking and as I'm checking, I'm thinking, okay, I got to remember, I got to put, because I was conscious of the fact that I could make this mistake. I got to remember that I got to put my hand down to pull up on the door. MGS is with us. Good to see you. Power Plant, what's going on? Good morning to you. Kione, aloha to you. Maku, good to see you. Oh, it is June 13th. Happy June 13th. June 13th is a celebration of African-American culture in America, for those who may not be familiar. Andrew's with us. Have a day to you. Craig's here. I can't do anything else when I'm roasting. I cannot, yeah, it's not a smart thing to do. And as I'm going to illustrate, it's definitely not a smart thing. So I'm conscious of the fact that I need to move my hand down. And I even thought in my mind, remember to move your hand down before you pull up because you could easily make this mistake. This is a thought that happened in my mind 30 seconds before this whole thing began, or whole thing happened. So reaching the point that I'm going to drop it, let's say I'm dropping at 420 Fahrenheit. It's like, okay, I'm here, ready to go. And and my hand's still here, right? I'm not even thinking about moving it yet. I got to pull up I got to pull it to drop the coffee. It's completely instinctual. I just lifted because I knew it was time to go. And instead of looking at the time, and it's like, so let's say we're stopping at 420 and you're 415, 416, 417. You would think that a reasonably intelligent person would remember okay, especially after, let's say at 408 degrees, is like, I need to remove my hand. You'd think that a reasonably smart person would take his hand down and put it on the other one. No. That's just too simple. So I'm sitting there 420, and it's not even conscious that my hand is up anymore. And then 420, it was just instinctual flick of the muscle motion. And the moment that I heard, like, I heard that there's a certain sound that green coffee makes. So there's a hopper, right? And the hopper has this, if we took from the side angle, the hopper has this slope. Once you open the door, there's a slope that the coffee drops, hits, and then slides into the drum. That green coffee on that metal surface makes a particular sound that is different than if you put roasted coffee in. And I hear it, and I'm like, oh no. Like, oh God, this is the worst possible outcome. I have coffee that is finished roasting, perfectly roasted, and I have just introduced a whole nother batch, a whole complete batch of coffee, of green coffee into it. It's like, so now it's a matter of like, what do you do? Like, and it's just momentary seconds of like trying to figure out, okay, what should I do? It's a panic, right? It's a panic. When you realize that you have truly effed up, like, it's like, this is colossal mistakes, right? Like these are not mistakes. Like, we're talking full batches in the roaster, right? So a total of like 22 pounds of coffee, which is not an insignificant amount. And I'm towards the end of the roast day, so that I don't have extra coffee to recover from this necessarily, right? It's going to require now some jockeying to fill orders. I'm like, oh gosh, we're hosed. What to do, right? The option is to continue roasting, right? The introduction of this green coffee will drop the overall temperature of the beans down. However, the beans that are fully roasted at 420 degrees they may cascade a little bit down, but they're not going to cascade very much. So now you're really in a situation where you're going to have really black and blue. If you were to continue roasting, like, so one of the options, continue roasting, right? Just continue on and for another 10 minutes to bring the other coffee up. But now you're really in a situation where, like, you've got two coffees that are totally different temperature points that you're now going to try to bring up. Now, this one won't necessarily rise in parallel. The roasted coffee, it's going to cool down a little bit and then come back, and then it'll roast high. But now you're going to have coffee that's over roasted with, and let's say you would get the other coffee to the right point of roasting, it's going to be very black and blue kind of colors, right? So one's probably going to be very burned, and the other one is not good. And the whole thing, and then you really have, and to my mind, that really hoses your total batch. Like, it's okay, now that's maybe not as hosing as igniting it on fire, like we talked about, but it's bad. That's bad. That's like a very bad scenario. The other is to, like, drop it. Right? Just drop the whole thing, and you're just done. Everything's toasted. You've got nothing to do with it. Just drop it. So I did. That's what I did. I decided, let's drop the batch, take everything out. And now we've got this coffee that is green with roasted coffee. So that gives us perhaps a little bit more playroom now to work with. Maybe there's something that we can be done. I don't think there's much to recover if you were to roast it continued. If you were to continue the roast, I don't think there's anything to be gained there. I think that's just disaster. That's disaster on top of disaster. Right? Power Plant says the only place this coffee go is up. Or in the bin. Like, I know a lot of guys that would be like, just put it in the bin. Just put it in the bin. And it's like, I get that, right? I get that. The bravado of, like, coffee, like, of coffee people will dictate, the hubris will just be like, well, I would never use it. It's just like when I was starting out, a lot of guys would be like, we would never make roasted coffee. I said, what if you burn your coffee by accident? Well, I just throw it away. You just throw it away? Are you crazy? Like, at the absolute worst, like, if the coffee was burnt, like if I over roasted a coffee, the absolute worst I would ever do to it, like, I would never bin it unless I, like, reached the point that it ignited and was a charcoal and everything was really, really, really gone to heck. I probably, I still have a batch of it that I still haven't binned because I keep thinking I'm going to put in a little hibachi and make steaks with it, like, charcoal. But I think that that's like the most egregious thing is to throw it away. At the very worst, you could donate it to someone. Firefighters at the local firehouse might be happy to have some coffee even though it's a bit more roasted, or any group like that, right? So I thought, let's drop it out. And what am I going to do? I didn't know. At the moment, I didn't know. Then I thought to myself, well, you know what? We can use it as content here on the channel for you guys to check out. So I thought that let's re-roast it because we're going to cool it down. All of the coffee will be cool by the time that we get to it. So a week passes. I just put it into a big bag and just let it sit there. And I've been pretty much, when that happened, my roast day was done because I was like, okay, I have reached total abject failure, and now we must stop and go home. And it's just like last night. I came back from my trip to Pennsylvania, and I was working in the wood shop last night, cutting pieces, and I was cutting these pieces for a chair back, and I needed to be 386 millimeters long. And I measured this one part, this one piece of lumber that had 390 millimeters. I was like, okay, that'll work. And I cut them out, but of course there's a slope to it. So, but I thought that we had plenty of space or whatever. So I spent all this time cutting this wood out, these pieces, and then finally went to go put it to measure the assembly length. It's like 345 millimeters. I was like, oh God, this is abject failure again. So instead of continuing and like cutting another piece, I was just like, you know what? I have reached failure. Time to stop and sit down and have a cigar and just not do anything else for the rest of the night. So this is what happened after I roasted the coffee. I was like, okay, we're done. Put it in a bag, come back to it. So a week later, last week, I roasted it up. I figured, let's roast it. Let's make a video of it, and then we'll do the tasting here for you to try or for you to see. Our plan says, it's the benefit of low expectations that the coffee can only go up from. Jody says, muscle memory can happen at such inopportune times. I tell you, it's so bad. Russell's here. What's going on, Russell? How are you? Craig says, if it wasn't so much coffee, I would haul out the screens and try to screen them. Okay, so this is something that on the release video that Naomi was like commenting. She's like, I would have helped you do it. It's like, let me tell you from experience. And I think Craig has this experience, right? But those of you who are thinking, oh, you just pick it out. It should not be a problem. We're talking 22 pounds of coffee, right? Siri, how many beans? Oh, no. Okay, forget Siri. Siri never answers mine. How many beans in a pound of coffee? Okay, so a pound of coffee beans, according to Google's AI here, a pound of coffee beans. Can we zoom in? I don't know this statistic off of my head because I've never really even thought about it. A pound of coffee beans typically contains 4,000 beans. It can vary slightly depending on the beans, but imagine that 4,000 beans. If you've ever I've done it on very small scales where I've mixed it by accident or something, where coffee has fallen into roasted coffee, and I've tried to sort it by hand. It is the most miserable thing in coffee today ever. It's like in the history of coffee, there's nothing more miserable than trying to sit there and separate green from roasted. Now somebody else made a comment, well, you could run through the destoner. And I was like, if I had a destoner, perhaps I would do that. Or if I had a color sorter, I would do that. But I'm certainly not going to go buy a big, sorter just for that purpose. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time. Maybe if it happened all the time, I'd probably do it. But so yes, you could, if it's small, and I said in the video, like perhaps if it's 100 grams, you could do it. But and I have tried on multiple occasions to try to sit there and sort it out. I was like, I could do it, and I could shake it because the density of the green coffee is heavier. But you know what, man, it is just not worth it. It's not. It is such a miserable experience that it's just not worth it. There's just things that just give up. Maybe throw it away. Maybe at that point you should. No. So I thought, let's roast the coffee. And the idea with the roasting of the coffee is that now that the coffee took, you could have done it. I could have done it hours later instead of a week later. I just did it a week later. But now the coffee has reached a temperature equilibrium, right? The roasted coffee and the green coffee are now going to be at the same internal temperature because it's had the time to equalize. Now, density is different. Moisture content is extremely different, right? So we're talking a coffee that's been fully roasted, which is probably about maybe 3% moisture content, versus green coffee, which is somewhere around 9 to 10%, maybe 11%, hopefully not 11%, but 10% moisture content. So there's a huge disparity. Plus, there's also greater density because the structure of the coffee hasn't been roasted yet. So much is different between the two. So, and I've never really done this. So I thought, let's give it a try and just see what happens. Let's roast it. We'll give it a curve and we'll bring it up to temperature and see what happens. Now, I should have rewatched the video this morning, but I think it went pretty fast, the roast. Maybe too much application here. I did roast the coffee. I think I roasted the coffee towards the end of the roast day, the last time we did it. So the drum, the roaster was the cast iron, the metal of the drum was fully saturated with heat. So, when you're roasting with a coffee roaster, like especially the carbon steel and the cast iron drums, when you start out, the steel is cold, right? So, but the more you roast on it, the greater the heat retention, the thermal, and the more stable that metal becomes with holding the temperature, so that by the time you get to your later roast, you don't have to use the same you don't have to apply the heat in the same manner as you do early on, right? So it's a little bit different. So you can kind of let a lot of the residual heat of the drums to do your conductive roasting without having to put too much flame on it. But I think it did go pretty fast, if I remember correctly. So that's going to be a factor probably in the way that this coffee tastes. Now, the coffee that I was using was a coffee that we're very familiar with here. It's the Guajupe Brazil from Guajupe in Brazil, a very cocoa powder-esque coffee that I really like. I like we use it as a component in both the espresso now and the House Nation. Not this particular coffee because, well, it was, scoundrelized. M0 says, we used to get a bag of Starbucks pastries occasionally, big old trash bag filled with the dates. Oh, you know what? My cousin used to do fundraising for an organization down in Stafford, Virginia. That's where she used to live. So every blue moon, she would come up, and so she would go to different bakeries or, coffee shops or, whatever, and get donations for this charity. And every once in a while, she would have so much extra. When she came to visit, she would bring us like you said, a little trash bag. I remember there was a couple of times she came up here and she was like, I have some Panera. And when you say people come to your house and they're like, oh, I have some Panera. You're like, oh, Panera. Okay, that's very nice of you. Thank you very much. This woman had like Panera, like in big trash bags. I don't know, what am I going to do with that? Like, there's like 4 dozen bagels. There's God knows whatever else is in there. It was amazing. It was whatever Panera was getting rid of that the day before, and she got it. Then and she's like, I already gave 2 bags to the donation, the charity. I said, why did you give them 3? What are we gonna do with these? So I'd have to call and get a lot of like stuff. We get so much, and it's like, oh, craziness. But yeah, so. Why did I go? Because of M0's comment. Yes. Curie says, kind of reminds me of pulling 1,000 weeds as a punishment. Oh, man, that is. You must have been a bad child. What were you doing in Vianney that your dad would make you do that? That's pretty hardcore. I think some of the guys and gals use their duty night to eat whatever they wanted whilst away from their wife. Oh, that's probably true. All right, so let's go see this coffee because now I have this coffee here. I bagged it up right after we were done, and I called it halo halo because it's a mix of the 2 coffees. And in Filipino language, Tagalog, it's halo halo means to mix, and so I just thought that would be kind of a cute name for it. And now we're going to get our monkey pod. Okay, let's open this up. Oh, there's actually... Oh, I was going to say there's some nice, pleasant notes, but it's weird. It's got a weird fragrance to the beans. Weird. So as you can see, we've got a medium roast. Oh, and look at this. The roasted 6-9. Okay, so now 10 days ago this was roasted. And you can see here that there is some, you see some, can you see this? There's some glistening. See those glistening? Like they're like little stars on my screen here, right? Little stars here. These are some of the beans, and I'm presuming that these are the originally roasted beans, have a little bit of oil starting to come out of them. That's very unusual for this coffee at this age. So this is going to be a signifier of that additional roasting that the coffee has underwent. Will it be good? Who knows? We're going to find out. But it doesn't look... Okay, so here's the thing. Color-wise, it doesn't really look that uneven, right? You would think that coffee that had been pre-roasted and roasted with green coffee would be very distinctly dark. Now, there are some variations because of the semi-wash processing that this coffee goes under. So you'll see like these two here are lighter than the ones around it. This one's lighter than those. This is a little bit lighter. That's more due to density of the coffees rather than the roast profiling. Doesn't look too bad. Not as bad as I was expecting. All right, let's get some scaling here so that we can do our tasting. Hello. Okay, we're going to do 24 minutes. We're going to do our normal brew parameters here to see what it tastes like. 19.6, 23. Okay, we're at 24.2 and 350 grams of water. Okay, perfect. Now let's get our Ode Gen 2 out. You'd think that maybe this is the fellow show because we've got so much of this fellow gear here around here. But it is not. Oh, by the way, that reminds me of something. If you're looking for coffee tampers, and this is totally just because the guy is an old friend of mine, but you see me talk about these tampers here from a guy named Reg Barber up in Canada. I've always liked his tampers. They've always been my favorite of tampers, like really nice, high quality, handmade. He sent me a message the other day and he was like, hey, I just want to let you know that I've restarted my website and I think he's getting back into gear of selling tampers. So if you're interested in checking out regbarber.com, regbarbertampers.com, tamperman.com. I don't really know he sent me the link. I really should remember this. But if you're looking for a temper, I like his the best. Handmade. Single. Okay, let's go to the coffee. Here's the coffee. We're going to grind it. Is there any coffee in here left from the last time? No, because we have zero retention of these. We're going to use the same grind setting. It's just past 7, 1 tick past 7. Maku says, after seeing this, I think I've been sold coffee like that. Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that. I think that this kind of thing they should disclose, right? Like, or sell it as a different coffee, right? Sell it as, Halo brand. Like if you come to Spro and you're like, you see this coffee called Halo, you should ask me. Be like, is this the coffee? Is this like the coffee you showed on the web on the YouTube? I will tell you the truth. And actually, if we ever did that, we would definitely include that on it. But Okay. Now let's see here. There it is. How does it smell? It doesn't. Hang on one second. Let me grab. thought I had. Oh man, really? No. You know, I thought that I had this, and I do. It's actually, but it's not here. It's actually elsewhere. I just remember I saw it yesterday, and I have a regular roast of this that is not. And I was going to compare it, but sorry. There is a strong sharpness to the nose here. Not necessarily good, or not necessarily bad, but not like, I won't say it's enticing either. Like it's like, interesting. All right, let's get our brewing set up here. We're going to use our same kit that we've been using this past week, the Cathec flour. Not sponsored. No sponsors for anything. Well, I guess maybe this one may be sponsored by CQA. Thank you, CQA. Appreciate that. But more that's a gift, right? Okay, so let's, before power plant gets upset. Okay, now I'm going to put this in here. Fold over our filter. Good morning, Paige. How are you doing? Put the coffee in. Power plant says, have milk on hand. This looks like a coffee that will be... It might very well be bitter with milk. Okay, shake that out. Okay, let's put this here. Let's put that. Make sure the water is hot up again. I got to remember to hit the Asian market because I need more of these butane canisters. More. I'm running very low now. Critically low. Critically low. Okay. Paige says that she's waiting at the vet for allergy med update for my dog. Oh, what happened to the dog? Is he having some bad allergies? Hope not too serious. All right, we got our boiling water now. Then we need to, oh, see, I did it wrong again, right? Okay, here we go. Now, okay, that was a little bit uneven. So I'm trying to push it down with the water flow. Paige says nothing happened. He just has to get a shot every few months so he doesn't break out from being in the grass. Oh, okay, very good. Very nice, very nice, very nice. And, you know, one time I remember I was going to there's a Costco in Baltimore, one of the oldest ones. And next door to it is like a PetSmart or something like that. Of course, the PetSmart has like a veterinarian clinic or some kind of treatment clinic. And I remember this one time I was there watching. Went to the Costco, and here was this woman and her daughter. The daughter was maybe 10 years old. So the woman was probably in her mid-40s. And for whatever reason, they had a big Marmaduke, a big Mastiff, right? This Mastiff was a majestic beast. And the Mastiff they get the Mastiff out of the car. The Mastiff is happy to go, and he's walking with them. And I'm watching them because you see this Mastiff. You're like, and this woman, and this small child. You're like, wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing dog. And here comes this Mastiff, and the Mastiff walks to the end. You know, so you know how like in front of like a big box store, there's this driveway that goes in front of the doorway, and then there's the rows of like parking. They're coming down the rows of parking, and just as they're crossing in the drive, where the cars pass. This dog is like having a great time. And then he looks up and then he realizes where he is. He has recognition that, oh, this is PetSmart. And evidently, he probably didn't have good visits to the vet there. Because this dog, this big old like mastiff, just sat down. He was like, whoa, whoa, and sat down and refused to move. He was like in the middle of the roadway, refusing to go anywhere. He's like, no. And the mother and the daughter are trying to pull this mastiff. And I'm like, well, this is funny. Like I was laughing. And eventually some of the I guess nurses, the vet nurses came out in their scrubs and they're trying to coax the dog along. And I was like, wow, this is just pure comedy here. All right, now we've got definitely I caught some waifs of the aroma. It's not too favorable. It's kind of smelly, dark. It smells darky. $2.44, $2.39. Oh, we need to speed up. We need to speed up our brew. That Mastiff story just kind of took us a little bit longer. Oh, Marmaduke was a great Dane. Oh, maybe it was a Great Dane. You know, I have to say, it could be Mastiff, could be Great Dane. I somewhere have a photo. One day, if I find it, I'm gonna like post it to the community post and be like, "Here's the picture of," because I got a picture of them. They were like pulling on the dog. It was really funny. I was like, or actually, maybe I got after once the dog finally stood up. I forgot what I got, but it was like, oh my gosh, such a good moment, such a treasured moment. Okay, 3:23. A lot of talking. Not enough brewing. Power Plant says the English Mastiff can be the heaviest of all breeds. I mean, this dog was huge. Like, he was huge, especially compared to the size of the mom and the daughter. Like, you could put the mom and the daughter together and they would not equal the body mass of this dog. Like, I was like, whoa. This is just craziness, but it was a great time. It was great. It was great to watch. You know, it was funny. It was funny. All right, so here we are, 4 minutes, 4:52, 3:49. So perhaps we're getting a lot more fines. So maybe okay. I didn't pay that close attention to this brew, but we have a bit longer time than we had earlier this week with this same setup and the same grind setting. I'm going to guess that there's contributing. So maybe one of the contributing factors would be that the longer roasted coffee of these two may be more brittle and might be giving more fines that would slow down clog the filter and slow it down. Maybe this is hypothetical thinking right there. No real way to check that. Although maybe there's something to be said there, because as you may notice here on the paper, there is greater brown. Like I don't think we'll have to go back and look at the videos, but on other brews, I don't think there's been this much brown. Perhaps this extra brown is the sucking up in the capillary action of the paper is pulling more finer sediment out of the coffee and into its fibers because the coffee is more brittle and therefore moored. And I'm really extrapolating this idea of greater brittleness, a greater dustiness, because of my woodworking experience. Right, I've been working with this. I made a chair using this thing called thermal oak, where they take red oak and they put it through this thermal process. That's very much like coffee roasting. That wood is very brittle. It's very dusty. It's really, actually, I think it's quite unpleasant to use. Like, I don't, as a furniture making wood, I don't think I like it. Like, I'm hemming and hawing on it, but at the end of the day, I don't think I really would want to do it again. But it maybe some of the way that wood acts, and that is like a very roasted. It's like we're roasting wood, like we roast coffee. That's essentially the process they use to make it. So I'm thinking there's some perhaps shared data, maybe. All right, let's take this out. The nice thing, like I said, we can just take this and throw it away. Beautiful, beautiful. This can just be rinsed out. And now we have our coffee here. Get our cup. Now, I feel like this looks darker than other coffees that we've used here. Now, especially compared to the stuff that we were using in the last few days from the lecture at McDaniel College, this coffee is decidedly darker roasted than those coffees. Like, this is a darker roast than those. So that's going to play a factor. But let's see. I mean, even in the cup, you can see in the cup, we typically, our roasts and our brews are typically more transparent with this volume of coffee in this glass. But it's definitely darker. So we definitely are seeing heavier roasting. Not terribly. I mean, there is a pronounced, compared to what I normally produce, there's definitely a pronounced roast aroma to the coffee. Not as dramatic as, let's say, like if you go to like Costco or something and you buy a dark roast in a 2-pound bag, it's not like that. It's not that dramatic. That is a very dramatic dark roast. This is a very low drama dark roast. It's, how would they say it today? It's dark roast low key. Yeah. Yeah, that's not good. That is just, no, that's dismal. That's dismal. That's a dismal. There's roasty notes. There's not dirty, but just like chalky. So that cocoa powder, that beautiful cocoa powder that's typically in this coffee, has turned to like a dark chalky kind of. Oh God, that's just really quite disagreeable. But you know what? We have to find all methods of production here. So you know what? We're going to extend this feast of coffee. We're going to extend it. We're going to extend it because you know why? We're awesome like that. Right? We're awesome, and this is huge, huge. We're going to extend it just a little bit more. And how are we going to extend it? We're going to make some beautiful coffee. Beautiful. It'll be huge. It'll be huge. Huge. The question is, what can you do with this coffee, right? Like, what can we do? This is coffee, as a brewed coffee. God, it's not the worst coffee I've ever had in my life, but it's definitely like, not very pleasant. Power Plant said we probably need milk. We definitely would like to have milk. Milk and sugar would be a good companion to this to help. Or big blueberry muffins would be a great companion. It's certainly not the coffee that we are looking for. M0 says, I'm going to go bake a pizza. Power Plant says, meats, coffee, Major Dickinson, dark roast. You know, I haven't had that in many years. Anton says, it may not be dark roast, but there is sure drama. I mean, it's not too dark, but yeah, definitely. And I mean, this is what this is a character we should be expecting from the coffee because we've taken fully roasted coffee and we've double roasted it. So even though our application of heat has been, I guess the best way to say that is relatively calm, right? That we're not getting dramatically dark beans, but it doesn't change the fact that this was roasted for like 20 minutes. Which is always going to impart, like, maybe there's baked notes. I don't get more. I get more roasty unhappiness than I do baked notes. But I think it's important though to try something like this. Like, especially if you're like, I encourage all of our baristas to try all coffees. good and bad, especially the bad. Like especially like this. You know what I might what I would do. Let's say if we were still operating like retail shops, I might actually keep this coffee and make it for baristas to try, so that they can see coffee that is, what it is. This is coffee that we're trying not to do, right? This is what coffee. This is what less than ideal coffee tastes like, less than optimal. Because I am a believer that you cannot know what is good until you know what is bad. Or you can't differentiate good unless you know what's bad, right? You have to have that ability to taste the differences. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to take this coffee, and I want to kind of explore it, because if you're a home roaster, and let's say you make this mistake somehow, like it could just be you spilled coffee into your cooling tray, and that's something that can happen. So how would you be able to utilize this coffee? Now, this coffee, in the manner that it is, for those of your friends who like to drink dark roast, this will be fabulous for them. I bet they would eat it up. They would be like, "Oh, this is, it's going to be a nicer quality than probably the dreck they're drinking at home that they got from whatever roaster out there in the world, whatever commercial roaster." This is still an improvement over that. And I suspect this is going to be an improvement over one of the coffees that's coming up soon. But, in our world, in our sphere of trying to enjoy lovely coffees, it's quite notable. Quite notable is probably the best way to do it. Power Plant says every failure a lesson. Absolutely, every failure is a lesson. Kiana asked, I wonder if you will make espresso, it would be better. You know what? I should have turned on the espresso machine. We will try that again. Maybe tomorrow. Well, what we're going to do right now, though, is I'm going to cold brew this sucker. So let us get our cold brew. This is, I keep forgetting to. Remember how yesterday I was like, I need to charge this. Well, I didn't. And now it's come to bite me. Okay, let's try it again. See if it'll. It's way past the point of like, okay, wait a minute. There must be a cable somewhere here that I can use as a charging cable. Let me look for it. There's always something to hinder progress on this show. Somewhere along the way, there's something that's gonna be like, oh no, we must hinder progress. But luckily, the machine is running smoothly today. I think I found a cable. Nope. I got a cable, but I don't have an extra USB port. Oh, there's one. Let's see if this will work. Okay, plug that in. Oh, it does. It is working. Excellent. Okay, now we've got this here. Tear that out. So this is a pint glass. There are 8 pints in a gallon. So 128 ounces. 128 divided by 8 is 16. I don't know why I did that, because I already know that a pint is 16 ounces. Why did I say that? 16 ounces. We're going to multiply that by 2 grams, 32 grams. I don't know why. I just want this whole calculation. I probably should have known that off the top of my head. Okay. 32 grams. Okay, now I don't know what happened. Why are we 188? We are discombobulated here. Oh, there. 13 grams. 13 grams, 13.6. Let's go a little bit more. Let's go to 16 even. Okay, 16 even now. We're going to take that. We're going to grind it in a very coarse grind. Oh, great. What happened there? You gotta be kidding me. Is this again? This happened again? So, whatever happened, really? What in the... So I did move it. It's like it's just seized. How many months has it been since this happened last? Wow, it's totally... This is completely different than what happened last time. Like I said, there's always something that goes and tries to muck with our progress. Oh, gosh, this is craziness. Oh, turn the dial to coarser. I know that was fully coarse. Like I moved it as it was grinding, and we've done that before, I think, but that's never happened. I'm going to be undaunted now. I will have to tear this apart maybe tomorrow or over the weekend. But at least if I have to call Phil about this, at least they know that I can give them video. Perhaps that's one of the beauties of doing this live stream, that there's at least evidence of when things happen and how things happen. Let's try this again. See what happens. So it's almost as though there's like a little bit of like rewinding, and then it just kind of seizes. Okay, let's try this again. Zassenhaus. Craig says you have to remove the burr, four screws. I know that. I just don't have any tools here on the bar. How much did I say? 32 grams. Oh, great. Now I have to grind more than I ever like to grind on a task that I don't even like. Okay, 32 grams. I'm going to do 32 grams. Put that in here. This Zassenhaus was gifted to me by one of my customers, Dave Clark. Very good guy. He was one of our regulars at the Hamden shop. Really great man. Really good. Still around. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to give you the impression that he's no longer with us. He's still around. Oh, now that I've been grinding a lot with that Kogu, this is actually quite luxurious. And this is nice. A little bit longer handle, so easier. And then there's less resistance with the grind. I guess the burrs are bigger. And you know these Germans, or maybe Austrians, you look at those guys in that part of the world, they're so, like, efficient. Keone says, to be honest, I really wasn't sold on the build quality of the Ode 2 when I had one. The option O Casa is built a lot more solid. I mean, I don't know what's up with that. I don't want to say I'm with you, but I'm certainly like trending that way. Craig says, no issue with extremely dark coffee and not just with the Ode 2. Is this really extremely dark coffee? And why wouldn't dark coffee be easier to break down because it's more brittle? Copland says, I dislike the EG1. Anton says, you know, EG1 is also known to stall now and then. Craig says the exit is probably jammed with the ionizer is. It is a known issue. The question is, do I call them about it first, or do I just try to fix it? You know, because if you try to fix it, potentially it could use that against you for the warranty, right? Copland says this literally sounds like a trash motor. Oh, this sound. No, well, I don't know. Is it? It's not like the last time. It's like it sounds to me, it feels like it actually seized. Like something has seized the burrs and prevents the motor from spinning the auger and the burr set. Why? I don't know. Like it's fully, it's as coarse and as theoretically as separated as it could be. But Craig says there's a jam, and I don't know if I can see this on the show this on the camera. Like it's hard just because the angle, but it does. There is these like little veins in the port that I can see, and it does look. I mean, it is looking kind of clogged. Like I don't really have a reference point because mostly I use commercial grinders that have big burrs and big powerful motors that have big pathways. So I've actually never had a clog on a commercial grinder, but different beasts. 32 grams is a lot to grind. PowerPoint says, no, the EG1 sounds like garbage. Oh, okay, gotcha. Who makes the EG1? I'm trying to remember that. Craig says, extremely dark coffee jams the exit. Happens upon the... Oh, okay. But would this be considered extremely dark? Is it like maybe like there's excess oils on the surface that are kind of, I don't know, getting collected, sticking to the pathway, perhaps that could be it. Coffee Cup says, hello, so late. Ooh, Zassenhaus. No, I think that's pretty good. Oh, Zassen, yeah, it's SS. It's O. It's German, so SS. Zassenhaus. I probably shouldn't say German and SS together, sorry. Are we doing instruction? No, I'm trying to do cold brew coffee. But as you can see here, the Ode Gen 2 grinder just sees. If you rewind a couple minutes back, you'll see it just sees in the middle of our grinding. You're like, what's going on here, right? So, since we're going to move forward undaunted, we want to, continue on with this grinder. So here's our grind, fairly coarse-y. I didn't really worry about adjusting the grinds, because we're not going to worry too much about that today. Now we're going to pour this into our pint cup glass jar. Good. And then now we're just going to add water. And I've got some water here that we can add. Some cold water. Hopefully there's enough. I don't know if I have enough water left. No, I don't have enough water left. We will just add some from the kettle, even though it's a little bit on the warmer side. We'll also use that as a means to hydrate. And we don't want to fill it all the way up, right? We don't want to fill it all the way up because we're going to shake it and let it sit overnight. And then maybe we'll do this tomorrow. We'll do this tomorrow. We'll do this with espresso tomorrow. And maybe try to figure out this grinder. So the Germans have to save. Well, the Germans are always saving things. Ionizers are a gimmick. Ionizers are a gimmick mostly, says Power Plant. Wait, where are we? Where are we? Oh, here we go. Kenny says theoretically the Ode 2 has a ionizer that should prevent static buildup. Oh, well, if it is truly static, I don't think it's working. Or it's not working as we would hope it would work. But actually, I'm a little bit distressed because, like, I bought this in September. We had an issue with it within 30 days, right? Where basically it just kind of died. And I called them and they did send me a new one. They've been very good. They were very good about like taking care of it. Of course, I don't know. I mean, I've heard they're very good with everybody. So, but there is a part of me that has to wonder, like, is it because it happened here on this? Not that we have the following of James Hoffman, but nobody wants to see their product kind of conk out in the middle of a live stream, right? But what was I thinking? I was thinking, I'm a little bit concerned that there's another issue like within a year. We'll see. Powerplant says ionizers get covered in grounds and stopped effectively working. Fool me once, fool me twice situation. Craig says that ionizers work. That's physics, not a gimmick. Gotcha. Anton says, what a shame the Ode stopped working. Guess you don't have to get the EK43. Oh my, you're probably right. No, there'll be no EK43s. I'm actually against the EK43 for no other reason than it's been the darling of other baristas. I'm like, you don't need that grinder. That's a bulk coffee grinder. You don't need that. I know everybody prescribes. All my friends were like, you must have EK43. I was like, why? What is it that you're getting exactly? But anyway. Craig says that not half of your dark beans. I hear you. I mean, I fully realize that half of these beans are roasted much further. But I don't know if we didn't see it. The color, I mean, I know we're probably talking like weird semantics here, but the color is the same, or more or less, right? We're not seeing like tremendous color variances. So, but definitely, without a doubt, half of the coffee is much further roasted than the other coffee, which is why I do expect to be a lot of variance. I think that's why we see a lot of difference between the normal performance of this coffee than this particular. What will be the best way? This particular divergent strain of this coffee. Yeah. And M0 says, yes, I was thinking something like that. If the British intentions provoke poor outcomes via American sympathies elsewhere, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about some? I have no idea. Oh, the geopolitical analogy. Gotcha. David Ramirez says you have to constantly, welcome David, you have to constantly clean the ionizer for it to be effective. Maybe that's why they give you the brush, and they might actually have that in the instructions. This is why you should sell equipment to women, because they tend to like be smart enough to read instructions. Guys tend to be like, I'm a man and I can figure out anything. This 787 Dreamliner, I can fly it. Have you ever flown one before? No, but I can figure it out. I've watched YouTube videos. Anton says, it seems EK43 can be misleading nowadays. The burst that they put in now is not as good as the one that made it famous. Oh, interesting. Interesting. All right, well, we'll continue this discussion about the Ode, the EK43, and I don't know what else. This strangely roasted coffee that is kind of dark, but not so dark, but too dark to grind and push through an icer. That tastes not great. But maybe tomorrow we'll try it with some cream and sugar or milk and sugar. Do I even have milk and sugar anymore? I have no idea. I'll go look. All right, so thank you very much for tuning in. Be back again tomorrow with another episode of the Coffee Q&A, 10 a.m. Eastern. So hope to see you then. Hope you have a wonderful day. PowerPoint says time to bend the, I don't want to bend the coffee. I'm not going to bend the grinder. Like, that's more expensive, right? I hate to bend things. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, and then we can figure that out. And Anton says, I had the LeBrew brew. I had the LeBrew brewers. Gosh, say that fast. Are also quite good. Craig says that apropos of nothing, last night I put SSP HU98s and took out the MK8 burrs, which were reground to A-spec. Wow, really? So the grinder, just in case you might not have picked up on that, but the grinder, the last Ode Gen 2 that I had that died out, that I couldn't figure out, because I don't really know electronics. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. So Ode was like, a fellow was just like, well, you keep the other one. We don't want it back. I was like, all right. So I offered it to whoever wanted, and Craig was like, I'll take it. So I sent it up to him, and he's been tinkering around with all these like burr sets. Oh, my page says $160 later for allergy. Oof. Dogs are pricey as kids, right? All right, perfect. November to all of you. Have a wonderful day out there and or night, and see you next time.